Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we are looking at Iron Man, and we are trying to figure out how to make Iron Man great. He is one of the founding Avengers. He is one of the most popular Marvel brands and characters and names and personalities to date, and he's just a fantastically fun character to play when he's played correctly. But sadly, in this game, he does not live up to those standards set out for him in the comics, in the movies, and in our minds. So today we're going to be looking at Iron Man. We're going to look at what's wrong with Iron Man, why he isn't up to snuff in my opinion, and then we're going to go through two ways that he can be fixed. The what to expect way, which is, you know, just cookie cutter stuff that Netmarble has done before, and then the what I want way, which is where I come up with creative, kind of out there ideas for fixing the character. Thank you for the Dimension Rift. So let's jump right into it, guys. What is wrong with Iron Man? Well, at the beginning, Iron Man was a very good character because his damage was strong and he had good move speed, which was important at the time in the game. Because a lot of enemies did not have tracking abilities. You could dodge their attacks. There wasn't a lot of AoE and stuff like that. It's not the case anymore. Iframes are now king. High burst DPS is very important, and survivability still needs, or is still needed in some form, whether it's healing or immunity and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Iron Man has none of it. None of his skills, unless you have this uniform, none of his skills have an iframe, and even with this uniform, only Crash Landing has an iframe, and it's a very short one at that. He has no healing, he has no immunity. His damage is good, but it's only really good with his tier 2. His tier 2 does give him a pretty sizable 42% increase to skill damage and 30% increase to bonus damage, and it does make his highest damage skill, Missile Barrage, quite potent. But even then, Iron Man is easily out DPS'd by, you know, a large number of characters nowadays, not only in the energy class, which is you know, energy attack dealing characters, which make up the majority of the overpowered characters, but also a lot of physical damage dealing characters can outmatch Iron Man. And added to that, I mean, if he was a glass cannon, that would be okay, but Iron Man is not either the highest DPS nor the tankiest, so he really doesn't do anything well. He's basically a novelty for who he is and not for what he does, which is kind of sad. His leadership doesn't really matter all that much anymore. I know it does to a new player, but about a month into the game and you won't need these kinds of leaderships anymore. So Iron Man has taken a serious drop off in terms of his usability, not to mention the fact that the Blast class has just gotten so powerful. It just overshadows Tony Stark so much. I mean, there's at least 10 characters here who are arguably better than, you know, the original Iron Man. So we have to make him better, guys. He needs to be stronger, he needs to be craftier, he needs to be more tanky or have more survivability. He needs quite a lot of help, and he also needs help because you guys really want it. I mean, obviously characters get balance changes because they need them. I mean, Elektra, Bullseye, etc. But the iconic ones are the ones that need and demand the most attention. Black Panther, Hulk, Black Bolt, Captain Marvel. So I feel like Iron Man is rightfully set up and should be the next on the list, the next on the docket. So how can we fix Iron Man? Let's go, you know, number by number with what we can expect. I know not a lot of Blast characters, or I don't even know if any Blast characters with their tier 2 have guaranteed dodge, but I think that that's something that they could reasonably give to Iron Man, just to reflect how evasive he is and how good he is at dodging incoming enemy attacks and just keeping himself out of harm's way. I know it's more of a speed type thing to do to give a character guaranteed dodge, but I feel like Netmarble could break the mold with Iron Man, and it's even just more justified because it's Iron Man. So that's the first thing that I would expect them to do, and that's probably the craziest one of the expected changes for Iron Man. The second change that I could also expect would be something like a triggerable heal. Sister Grimm already has a triggerable heal with her tier 2 on her 5th skill, Rock and Roll. We can see that on her 5th skill, Rock and Roll, if you have her tier 2, it heals for 10% when Rock and Roll is used, blood magic. So they could give something like that to Iron Man. either as just a regular upgrade by doing like a character rebalancing, or they could tie it to a uniform like the bleeding edge armor that he makes for himself, where it kind of comes out of his skin. In the comics, that makes him much more regenerative and gives him like healing properties, so they could work that in that way. But I could expect something like that. The other thing I could expect, and this is probably the most likely one, is just an immunity. I put Ironheart here next to Iron Man just because her skill set is the perfect example of what Iron Man should be. Long iframes, immunity, and very, very wicked animations. Lots of movement on them, iframes. You know, the damage isn't there, but everything else is. And that's everything that Iron Man is missing. He's not really missing the damage. So immunity on the one-off, for example, because it's a very long skill, he stays rooted, so you can't really abuse it with like any kind of iframe shenanigans. And it's not really that punishing of a thing to use this skill if there was immunity, because you're not really getting away with a lot in the meantime. Or they could give it to him on his missile barrage skill. What they could also do, and my final idea for the expected changes to Iron Man, would just be to make Missile Barrage a full iframe. That would make sense. That would probably be the absolute least they could do for, you know, our tin can hero, but it is something to hope for, because right now Iron Man does need help. His power level is just dropping further and further as more characters get updated, balance changes, as more characters get introduced. All three of the new characters from the Marvel Now update are far and away better than Iron Man, and it's just a little bit sad to see, you know, one half of the original Civil War being in such a dark place. Next up, guys, I want to leave you guys with my ideas, my thoughts for what they could change if they wanted to get really radical, if they wanted to go, you know, funky town, get really creative with Iron Man. I did take some time to come up with these, so I hope they can inspire you guys. Maybe it's inspiring someone over at Netmarble, and let me know what you guys think of my ideas. So the first one is called Enemy Weakness Detection. And this comes from the fact that Iron Man is so good at picking apart his enemies. Like, for example, his 4-star passive is called Precision Aim. You know, genius level intellect. He knows how to take you down before you even get into the fight. He's already got a plan for you. He's not at Batman's level in terms of the sneakiness for the DC reference, but he always has a way of finding out your weakness or finding out a way to hit you back harder than before. So they could have something where when Iron Man's attacking, there's a 25% rate or a 25% chance to trigger like an all defense down. So it could be like Hogan's skill. We already have this in the game. I think it's, yeah, Mace Enchantment. There's an all defense down for 5 seconds. So they could have something like that where he debuffs you and he lowers your all defense, so then you're taking more damage. Or they could introduce a slightly newer mechanic, and it could be the opposite of the one that we're seeing a lot now that was popularized by Odin. The damage reduction here, so all damage received reduced by 30%. They could reverse that. They could flip that, and maybe for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, when Iron Man's weakness detection triggers, the enemy that the Iron Man's attacking has all damage received increased by 30% or 20% or whatever. And that would not only make Iron Man deal more damage and address his DPS issues, but it would also make it more fun in like co-op missions, because then, oh yo, the enemy weakness detection triggered, let's just hammer the guy with our best skills. So that could be a really cool thing, and that fits super thematically with Tony Stark. The next idea I had is probably the one that I see people suggesting the most, the one that they want to see so badly from Iron Man, and that's the rest of the Iron Legion. Iron Man is so well known for keeping all of his suits and for upgrading them and then for using them. You know, he's linked up to them through Jarvis. He can summon them to like help him out. We've seen it in the movies. Of course we've seen it to death in the comics. And if we saw it in this game, it would just be so awesome. Just imagining like so many other Iron Mans coming in, attacking, even if it's just for a little bit. I mean, Hogan, Fandral, and Volstagg have it. Why can't Iron Man have it? You know? They don't even have to be summons with a percent of the stats. They can just be summons that come in and do one thing. And that would be good enough. That would appease the fans. That would satiate my desire to have a Necromancer in this game. So my idea for the Iron Legion support system would be to rework his 5th skill, and this would obviously be a pretty radical change, but change his 5th skill, because I really hate this animation right now, and summon, you know, randomly 3 to 5 of the Legion, of the other marks of the Iron Man suits, to come in and do something for Iron Man. Either they're attacking for a certain number of seconds, or they're just casting one skill and then flying away again. So it would look similar to Hogan's 5th skill, where he does something and then they come out of nowhere and they start attacking, or they could just fly into. That's also fine by me. And then you could also tie it into his uniforms. Because Iron Man has so many uniforms, he's only second right now to, I believe, Captain America. It would be really cool if they gave us an extra incentive for having multiple Iron Man uniforms. So let's say when you use the Iron Legion support system skill, you can get more summons to come out if you have more of Iron Man's uniforms. And that would be a really cool way of further rewarding characters, or players, sorry, for having a character's uniforms, having all of them. So, you know, for example, if I have just one uniform, I summon, let's say, 2 of the Iron Legion. But if I have all 3 of Iron Man's uniforms, I summon 5 or 6. And maybe I even summon the other uniforms that I'm not equipped with. I think that would just be amazing. And it would really take some of the stink off from the uniform upgrade system. The last idea I have for Iron Man is called engineered self-destruction. This one's a little bit more out there, but, you know, hear me out. The idea is that Tony changes suits a lot, and he can have it so that when his health gets really low, like 10% or 15% or 20%, one of the skills in his skill rotation will appear, or an extra one will appear next to his original skills. And then if you press that button, kind of like the co-op button, if you press that button, so imagine here that you know, next to you know, above the one-off, above this 5th skill, and to the left of the 2nd skill, when Tony's health gets below, let's say, 20%, another button appears there. That's the self-destruct button. And then when you press that, Tony Stark's suit of armor will explode, dealing massive damage to the enemy, and then Tony Stark will eject from the suit at the same time and, you know, jump into another suit. Now, of course, that just sounds like a really broken, overpowered skill, so it would have to come with some drawbacks. And the drawback could be that when he gets into the new suit, it has to power up, so he has, let's say, only 50% of his health and it's charging up. Or maybe all of his skills are on a 15 or a 30-second cooldown, and you can't switch out to another character. So it would be a cool skill because it would have a built-in risk reward. I can use the self-destruct and I can do massive damage, but then I'm going to have to kite the boss for 15 seconds. Do I really think I can do that? Is Thanos going to kill me in the meantime? Or you're getting down to 10% health and you're like, you know what, I don't want to use the self-destruct. I think I can kill this boss with the skills that Iron Man has. Let me try to beat this level, beat this mission, beat this boss, you know, with the original suit. So that's my idea for the engineered self-destruction. And again, it fits very thematically with the motif of Iron Man. I tried to be as close to what he does in the comics and in other medias as possible, and I really hope that Netmarble does as well. And I do really think or hope that they will change Iron Man or rebalance him, because Captain America just got a slight rebalance. Iron Man needs it real bad, son. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know how you would change Iron Man, if you like my ideas, if you don't like my ideas, or if you should tweak them, and how you would do that. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.